There are some comic book characters who are gone for good, like good old Uncle Ben. But is Quicksilver really never going to return to the MCU? Come on, we can say the word mutant now. It's the perfect time for Pietro to reappear after being taken out too soon, and his sister Wanda has the power to make it happen. We've seen Loki supposedly perish and return so many times, and now he has his very own show on Disney+. So why did poor Piertro Maximoff lose his life one single time and never even make a single triumphant reappearance? Well, like so many tears we've cried over fictional characters, we can blame this all on director Joss Whedon. According to Whedon, he felt that in order for Avengers Age of Ultron to be a successful film, somebody had to lose their life. Or at least that's what he tells himself to justify all the pain he's caused his audience over the years. He wanted to show how horrific war can be, and that it's unrealistic for everyone to get a happy ending. There's a price that needs to be paid, and apparently, he decided that MCU newcomer Quicksilver should be the one to pay it. Okay, so maybe we can't blame this all on Joss Whedon, as fun as that is. Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige agreed with the decision, claiming that it added stakes to the movie, showed that Ultron's actions had severe repercussions, and helped develop Scarlet Witch as a character. Although it could be argued that Quicksilver's loss is really Tony Stark's fault, but I won't get into that right now. It's just that he was indirectly responsible for the loss of their parents, and then… sorry, let's get back to Pietro. As much as I want to see Quicksilver in the MCU again, I have to admit that his loss did manage to accomplish all of those things. So why do I think Pietro deserves to come back? He might not be the nicest guy, but he's definitely an interesting one. And the MCU can always use more compelling characters. Age of Ultron was so long ago at this point that bringing him back now wouldn't cheapen his loss like it would have if he suddenly popped back up in the next movie. With the whole Infinity Saga now behind us, the loss of Quicksilver has been reduced to a mere blip in the MCU's history, and that's a shame considering how much potential he had. Quicksilver is also an important part of many great comic book storylines I'd love to see play out on the big screen, so I might be a little bit biased here. But there are some very real reasons to think Quicksilver might actually be brought back, and it's not because Kevin Feige has finally started answering my emails, because, spoiler alert, he hasn't. This theory hinges on Pietro's sister, Wanda Maximoff. She's going to be appearing in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, as well as her own show, Wandavision. Clearly, the MCU has decided to give her some more visibility, and frankly, it's about time, considering she's one of the most powerful characters in the entire universe. There was a deleted scene from Age of Ultron that revealed Pietro had survived heroically saving Clint Barton. Ultimately, it didn't make the cut, but the fact that it exists at all makes it clear that keeping him in the MCU was definitely an option at some point. And it seems like Disney hasn't forgotten about that, because we learned something very interesting about the audition process for Wandavision. I could do an entire video about the weirdness of Wanda and her kids in the comics, but I'll just keep it brief, since this is finally Pietro's time to shine. But the important part for the purposes of this video is that Wanda's kids are expected to be a part of Wandavision. In the trailer, we saw a pregnant Scarlet Witch, and later 2 cribs presumably containing children. An alleged audition tape surfaced from an actor trying out for the part of one of Wanda's kids, and in it, they mention having an uncle when reading a line of dialogue. Since Vision certainly doesn't have any relatives, what with being an Infinity Stone-powered vibranium machine, that leaves Wanda. Could this be a clue that Uncle Pietro is going to be making an appearance? After all, it seems like we're getting Vision back, and we lost him twice during Infinity War. We've seen plenty of powerful characters in the MCU, but nothing compared to what Wanda has proven herself capable of in the comic books. Sure, Captain Marvel can punch a spaceship apart, which is admittedly very awesome, but Wanda can punch a hole in time and space and completely rewrite history. Even Kevin Feige underlined how powerful Wanda is by saying that she could have defeated Thanos in a one-on-one fight during Endgame. Apparently, it was only his backup that saved him from facing the full wrath of the Scarlet Witch. It's unclear exactly how she's going to bring Vision back, but based on the fact that the show is called Wandavision, she clearly does somehow. And I'm not an expert on magic, but it seems like it would be even more difficult to bring back an inorganic being like Vision than a regular squishy flesh and bones mortal like Pietro. If we're to believe that losing her brother was devastating enough to impact Wanda's character forever, then it stands to reason that she would want to bring him back. There's a comic book precedent for Wanda reviving her brother, and it just so happens to take place in one of my favorite storylines, House of M. This is something fans have been eager to see play out on the big screen for quite some time, and instead we got, let's not even go down that road. Until Disney acquired Fox, they couldn't even say the word mutants in the MCU. Now that we can put the M into House of M, and Wanda's getting her time in the spotlight, it's the perfect time for this storyline. In the comics, Magneto, the father of Wanda and Pietro, takes over the island of Genosha with the intent of making it a safe haven for mutants. Wanda's powers grow so out of control that even the combined efforts of Magneto and Professor X can't hold her back anymore. Some believe destroying Wanda is the only option, while others want to search for a more non-lethal solution. Needless to say, Pietro isn't impressed with the idea of taking out his sister, but the other's fears are confirmed when she alters the very fabric of reality. There are tons of changes in this new world, including Peter Parker being married to Gwen Stacy, Doctor Strange working as a psychologist, and Cyclops and Emma Frost being married. Oh, and mutants rule over all humans. And it turns out that this is all kind of Pietro's fault, since he suggested Wanda make a magic wish-granting world in the first place. Poor Clint Barton perishes twice during this storyline, but don't worry, he comes back. So does Quicksilver, after his own father pummels him past the point of no return. When Wanda restores reality to how it used to be, she also brings back her brother, albeit without his powers. Of course, that's the abridged version of the story, but you get the idea. Wanda created a world where she was reunited with her children, and that certainly seems like what's going on in Wandavision. I'm not suggesting that it's going to be a beat-for-beat retelling of House of M, but it's not crazy to suggest that elements of the story could be incorporated into Wandavision and/or Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Vision sacrificed himself during Infinity War, and the fact that he was immediately brought back and then destroyed by Thanos didn't lessen the impact of his actions in an emotional sense. There are people who believe that instead of being a benevolent force in Multiverse of Madness, Wanda will actually be a villain. Not because of her own conscious choices, but perhaps as a result of her struggling to control her powers. If Wanda gets out of control, it's possible that her brother could be necessary in order to talk her down. And if we are indeed dealing with a Multiverse of Madness, then there are infinite timelines when Pietro must still be alive. Perhaps Wanda's desire to interact with a version of her brother will cause strife between herself and Doctor Strange. He is kind of in charge of maintaining order in the universe, so he presumably wouldn't be too fond of Wanda rescuing her brother. In House of M, he couldn't stand against her powers, and I doubt it would be different in the MCU. If anything, it would be kinda strange if Wanda didn't add Pietro to her list of people to resurrect. In the MCU, she doesn't seem to have a ton of friends besides Vision. Yes, we've seen her fighting beside her fellow Avengers, but she spent a lot of time in isolation. She grew up with her brother Pietro, and after his loss, she spent time being confined with Vision for company. Then, after Civil War, she and Vision went off and did their own thing. How many close friends does Wanda really have? If she's creating her perfect world with Vision and their children, then why wouldn't Uncle Pietro be there too? Let's be real, the MCU has been hemorrhaging heroes lately. Of course, I know we're going to be getting more, just look at the Phase 4 lineup and that's abundantly clear. But in addition to heroes like the Eternals and Shang-Chi, it would be great to see a hero that's familiar, but we also know relatively little about. Would being gone for so long alter Pietro's personality? Would losing his life for the sake of other people inspire him to be more or less selfish in the future? In the comics, Pietro has acted as both a hero and a villain. Humanity in the comics is usually depicted as being not particularly mutant-friendly, to say the least. So Pietro is joined up with his father and his fellow mutants. If Wanda does bring her brother back, it would definitely be a twist if he returns as a villain instead of the hero he went out as. I love villains with a good backstory and morally ambiguous motives, and so do many other Marvel fans. The public opinion of superheroes has been called into question before, such as what we saw play out during Civil War. When mutants become common knowledge in the MCU, I'm guessing they're not going to have an easy transition. I know that I'm far from the only Marvel fan who's excited about seeing the X-Men join the MCU. There are so many great mutants in the comic books, and it's possible Pietro could step up and be a leader. Sure, in the MCU his powers come from the Mind Stone, but that could easily be explained away. Hydra tried out the scepter on a variety of test subjects, but Wanda and Pietro were the only ones who even survived, let alone got to have sweet superpowers. One easy explanation is that they survived because of the fact that they're mutants. Don't forget that Wolverine's mutant power isn't his adamantium claws. Those were just an aftermarket accessory. But he was able to receive them because of his mutant healing ability. Maybe Wanda and Pietro's powers will be explained in a similar fashion. Pietro Maximoff may be a smug, self-centered guy, but that doesn't mean he doesn't deserve the same second chance at life that so many other MCU characters have received over the years. If we're going to be getting a flood of mutants, then it makes sense to have one with a familiar face. And if his sister Wanda is going to be messing around with the multiverse and the very fabric of reality itself, then it seems like bringing Pietro back is one of the least crazy things she could do. Pietro Maximoff's time in the MCU went by faster than he does, and I think it's about time he was brought back. Are you hoping for a return of Quicksilver? Let us know in the comments section below, and then click that subscribe button for more videos from CBR. Bye for now.